So, welcome to Tonya Reid. And Tonya's a member of the Scientific and Medical Network. And you've also just submitted your Ph.D. dissertation, haven't you?
Correct. In transpersonal counseling, University of Sedona, which is basically a theology university here in the U.S. And prior to that, I completed the Master of Science in Applied Psychophysiology and Neuroscience. And so we're excited.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you here. So over to you.
Okay, great. So the other thing, I've been a yoga practitioner off and on for several years, and in the process of becoming a certified yoga teacher, my area of preference is Iyengar yoga. I've practiced various types, including Hatha and Kundalini, but Iyengar is my favorite. And I won't talk a lot about Iyengar today, but it is used in medical facilities. It's a very scientific practice, and B.S. Iyengar, the founder, allowed students to utilize props in the practice, which is wonderful because once you position your body in the poses, you're able to rest in the poses, whether you're using a chair, or blocks, or bolsters and whatnot. So it's a wonderful discipline for just ironing out the kinks in your body and forcing you to breathe, which, many people in our day-to-day existence, because of the stress and anxiety that we're dealing with, we're not breathing deeply. Most of us are functioning on very shallow breathing. And so that's one of the benefits of the practice. So I talk a little bit about transpersonal therapy, which is what my dissertation is on. And so many people are not familiar. Most SMN members probably have heard of it, but I was recently at a workshop on Tantra, and the facilitator, who's also a licensed therapist here in California, and her husband's a life coach. When she introduced herself, she says, I'm also a transpersonal therapist, and many of you may not even know what that is. And so I thought that was interesting that she said that, and because I guess the word's just getting out in terms of the public really and having an understanding. So I start with a definition. This talk basically focuses on how peace and balance via transpersonal psychology and yoga are derived by processes of continually surrendering attachments to the individual self and merging with all of life, humanity, and the cosmos. And transpersonal psychology, it is spiritual psychology, a subfield or school of psychology designed to integrate the spiritual and transcendent aspects of living within the framework of modern psychology. And as far as transpersonal therapy, unlike most forms of psychotherapy that concentrate on improving mental health alone, transpersonal psychology therapy is focused on the spiritual aspects: mental, physical, social, emotional, creative, intellectual needs. It's like addressing the whole body, with an emphasis on the role of a healthy spirit in healing. So you do want to focus on the spiritual aspects of the person, as opposed to just the mental and emotional trauma and grief that people are dealing with, or actually those aspects are dealt with by way of the spiritual. It's segued. And of course, it evolved from the humanistic work of Carl Jung, and was formalized by Abraham Maslow in the 60s, and has continued to be developed by Stanislav Grof, using things such as holotrophic breath work. And Maslow and his colleagues called it transpersonal therapy because of the focus on the broader concept of how a person achieves meaning, purpose, happiness, describing the therapy as reaching beyond humanistic concerns. I mean, literally transcending the self, the attachment to the identity. And the therapy originally included greater focus on altered states of consciousness, which patients could see themselves and their lives from different perspectives. And this was sometimes derived by way of the use of psychedelics, but in controlled environments. So the outcomes could be measured. And one of the ways that it's was measured, that derived in the late 60s by one of my mentors, is by way of neurofeedback devices, biofeedback devices, where you can actually measure the brainwave states. And so that's also an aspect of the transpersonal psychology movement. It's concerned with the interrelations between mind, body, emotions, and spirit. Again, it's the whole body. And the two main services that we provide transpersonal therapists, helping people comprehend their mystical and spiritual experiences. You know, many people have out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, and they don't really understand what's going on or don't know how to necessarily interpret their experiences. So that's one of the services that therapists provide, as well as helping individuals integrate those experiences into their day-to-day lives, so that the spirit experiences aren't brushed off as mere illusions or irrelevant, but supporting people and really having a full comprehension of how these experiences can benefit them in their lives, the information that can be derived from the experiences. And again, these are experiences in which the individual sense of self expands beyond, transcends the person's identity. And you begin to encompass wider aspects of humankind, life, the psyche, aspects of the cosmos. Transpersonal therapy and yoga. Yoga is actually one form of transpersonal therapy. As stated earlier, yoga, it enables you to breathe. It forces you to breathe. And we all know that breath is life. And transpersonal therapists, in addition to yoga, utilize various techniques to help people not only immerse themselves more into the experiences they may be having, but also to have more experiences or more in-depth experiences using such therapies as meditation, visualization, hypnotherapy, dream work, art, music, journaling, and of course, mindfulness practices. And all of this is done for the purpose of helping individuals derive more meaning in their lives. So again, yoga is a form of transpersonal therapy. It is one, I want to say, intervention or discipline or practice that opens up the individual. Yesterday, I was at the end of my yoga practice, or throughout the course of it, I began to derive clarity with regard to some particular circumstances I was dealing with, related to my family, some difficulties in communication. And while I was on the yoga mat, it just became so clear. It's like all of this is a distraction. These difficulties that you're dealing with, these challenges in communication, they're just distractions from your work. They have nothing to do with anything. It's not even real. And I became so crystal clear about that while I was on the yoga mat, and got up feeling refreshed and renewed, and just knowing that I could proceed with my day with joy and grace and ease. It's really a wonderful practice. So again, the history of yoga is several thousand years old. The earliest known writings are found in the Vedas, the Hindu spiritual texts, and the Vedas means knowledge. And the oldest Veda is the Rig Veda. And scholars debate the exact date of the origins of the Vedas, but it's estimated 1700 to 1100 BCE. And most agree that the 1028 hymns in the Rig Vedas are considered to be of divine origin and the original source of yoga. And yoga means to yoke, meaning to make one. And again, this is first mentioned in the Rig Vedas. And the intended yoking is that of one's mind and the divine, a transcendent quality, creating a pure state of consciousness in which the awareness of I becomes the emphasis and the focus, or the awareness of I disappears into a sense of your own divine essence, your true essence. And my interpretation of yoga is that it equals surrender. And the reason I say this is because you have to surrender in order to engage in yoga. You have to surrender to attending a class, getting yourself to the class, whether it's a physical class or online class. And once you get to the class, you have to surrender to putting the mat down on the floor, because sometimes you'll go to the class and say, oh, no, that's okay, I'm going to leave. You have to surrender to put the mat down on the floor. And then once the mat is on the floor, every mental, emotional, and physical concern has to be surrendered on the yoga mat. You have to place it on the mat and leave it there. And by surrendering all of your mental, emotional, and physical concerns, that is what enables you to position your body in those poses. Without the surrender, it does not happen. You have to surrender to breathe into the pose. When the body wants to resist, or a particular ache or pain arises, you breathe through that and allow the energy of your body, your chi, to just flow through your body and work out those kinks. So it's magnificent discipline. And so in conclusion, what I will say is that peace and balance via transpersonal psychology and yoga are derived by processes of continually surrendering attachments to the individual self and merging with all of life, humanity, and the cosmos. And that is yoga, and that is transpersonal therapy and transpersonal psychology. And that is it for the presentation today. Having problems with my navigation over here, but one last slide. Here we are at the end. I thank you.